Today we're going to be doing the first team for beginners using only GP and one exception with a formation. Like the video, subscribe if you're new. Let's jump straight into it. Right off the bat, this is my formation. This is the formation I would recommend for beginners. This is the play style I would recommend for beginners. On the exception that during your events, offline events and all of that, you continue on playing these and you start from your possession game and play through your events 100 times, complete all of that, and so on until you've done all of these and you've claimed all the rewards. For online though, when you want to play divisions or when you want to use certain event teams that give you certain players and the events that give you a whole team for you to build a team around, I would recommend the 5 at the back. Now the reason why is because with my team, as you see, it's not fantastic. We're using more or less mostly GP players. They're all free players. It's a free to play account. However, when I use 4 at the back and I try deep line, 4 at the back with just anchor men, or 4 at the back with destroyers in the defence, destroyers in the defensive midfield as well, I usually find that players are managing to run through gaps all the way through the centre where Proevo sits. Now with this 5 at the back, you are essentially using your 3 at the back with your 2 wide players giving the team width. However, my wide players are on defensive, as you can see. Both of them are forced to stay back. That gives us the 5 at the back formation. But if you want to be pushing them upfield, obviously all you have to do is do a 1-2 pass with them or something, and they will continue to run up the field. And they will make a long run until the ball is very obviously not going to them, and then they will track back, unless obviously you continue to pass and 1-2 with them. That creates the width. It's as simple as that. Do you know what I mean? Like, the team is relatively okay. Just for perspective, I use this team and this formation on eFootball League. I have just reached Division 2. I came against a player who has an incredible team, and we'll speak about that in a second. The reason why I recommend this formation also is the teams that you come up against. You'll be coming against teams, especially as a free-to-play player, someone who is new, who that even are insane. They will have all the greatest players, the best goalkeeper, the best defence lined up. They will have everything, right? So some games you are just bound to lose, but having 5 at the back, having yourself an anchor man and a box-to-box player such as Kante gives you the opportunity to, 1, control the midfield. Usually I play Bellingham as a central midfielder. Just as like a quick side note. So we have 3 defensive midfielders, I'd say. They're all pretty much playing as defensive. Kante's good, quick enough to go wide, so is Bellingham. I'll usually track back, depending on the formation of the opponent. If they don't have wingers, no one on the wide, I would then grab Albert, grab Luke, pull them more into the middle, just to tighten up the space. And that'll either force someone to run up the wing, and if you're forcing someone to run up the wing, more often than not, their strikers either aren't going to be able to get the ball into the box for anyone, or you just get completely overrun by your left back, your centre back, your defensive mid, and so on. And in the midfield, obviously, you've got 3 players who are constantly looking for interceptions, constantly trying to chase the ball. It runs, it works, and as you saw, it got me into Division 2. The problem is, and now obviously there's negatives, you don't have as good as players as certain opponents you're going to come up against. Which is sucky. It's shit, right? Because there's only so much defending you can do with a centre-back who isn't quick, or a centre-back who doesn't have the best amount of height, or a centre-back who's just great at stats and great on paper, but just doesn't perform to how his quality is consistently throughout the game. Because of his stamina, or because of various other options, such as they change their formation, they do their subs, and that tries, that changes the way of the game because their players now have more stamina and are faster, and then on top of that, you're coming against draining defenders. It's bound to fuck up. So you can only expect so much from a GP only team. But we're going to get into it. I'm going to show you my recommendations. I'll also show you my bench before we get into it. I've got Tau. I suppose there could be a couple of exceptions, but I think people might have missed out on his opportunity to collect him. So for now, we're not going to. Bellingham. There is a Bellingham on a nominating contract who definitely sign. I will be swapping. Where is he? This Bellingham for this Bellingham once I max his levels out. The reason for that is plain and simple. I get to customise him to how I want it. It's that simple. I do also believe he has a trait that the other one doesn't have, which I think is something like a shooting and a passing one. Outside curler, I think it is. Yes, outside curler, which affects passing and affects shooting. So it gives him a better opportunity to hit the ball on different angles, whether he's passing, through balling, lofting the ball, shooting the ball, crossing the ball, or whatever. It's a whole array of what that skill does. And that in itself is more than enough of a reason for you to look at him. Interception as well. Fantastic. Doesn't have sliding tackle on this card. But again, because he's a card that you can collect for your nominating contracts, you can add skills to him. He is pretty much one of the endgame players for this team, who you can't really upgrade too much afterwards. So once you've got him, you're done. So first recommendation, if you're new to the game, jump on, get your levels, get your match pass up till you get your 25 games, I think it is, or 15 games to get your 5-star. Buy Bellingham. Done. Well done. You've got one player and you're starting 11 who can play attacking. He can play defensive if you really need him to. Obviously, just don't play him as a defensive. He'll lose his stats. But you can play him now. If you really want to, you can play him on the wing. In a wide midfield positions, he also works well there because he has an okay amount of pace. He does feel faster in game. There are times where he's outpaced fullbacks or anything. But again, when you hit higher divisions, you're going to be coming up against wide players like Cafu, like Roberto Carlos, like mega upgraded defenders like Van Dijk. You know what I mean? You've got Maldinis, Nestas, Cannavaros. I'm coming against all these players and they're just Rijkaard and they slap you. They have too much pace, so you either have to learn skills to get past them, adapt your play style every single game, which is very hard, or just kind of accept it that you might get lucky, you might not, and most likely you won't get lucky because they're all on it, they're all quick, they all have strength, they all have passing capabilities and defending capabilities and all the playing skills you need, and then some. It's long, right? But I've explained that. So we're going to go through every single position in that formation. I don't see a point in going through the positions that we don't need. And I'll recommend some substitutes as well. First off, a lot of people recommend Courtois. And we're just going to quickly compare him. Very good parrying, very good reflexes, 19 levels. Player skills, honestly, I don't really... Some people really rate them. I don't really rate them apart from the penalty saver one. Apparently that makes a better difference, but I'm yet to see what kind of difference it makes. But if we compare the two, right? Better reach, better reflexes, better awareness, straight off the bat. The same reflexes even, but better awareness, better reach. Which then saves you 4 points in reach and a point in awareness. Which means you can, my Courtois on the bench, I think he has 90 reflexes, 90 awareness, and only like 85 reach. Just because that's the max I could have got it up to. If you look at Neuer now, you're most likely going to be able to get him with them 3 extras. 88, 89, and then once he's in form, he's going to be hitting the 90s. So he's going to have 90 in awareness, reflexes, and reach. Once his form is good in game, fantastic. You can't really ask for much more. He's got the penalty saver. Worst case scenario as well, he's also a captain. So if you don't want to use anyone else as a captain, or your captain end up going off, he's your solid goalkeeper. Chuck him in, have him. It's easy. Sadly, with goalkeepers, you're going to have to spend your money on them. A lot of people also rate ter Stegen. I don't, solely because I've never used him. He has, as you see by the skills, he has better base stats on the reflexes and awareness than Manuel Neuer does. Sorry, again the awareness is the same. Reflexes is more. And he has more levels, so he looks like he might be able to level up slightly more. So if you want to, really, Neuer, ter Stegen, buy them both because they're both very different styles of goalkeepers as well. Just make sure when you're leveling ter Stegen up, focus a bit more on reach. Make sure your reach is at 90 because of his lack of height. You can also look at the players like Oblak. Again, no. His reach is too low for me, so I wouldn't. We're going to move on. We're going to keep it quick. As soon as you've tried them two goalkeepers, you can then tell, oh, actually, I prefer the taller goalkeepers like Manuel Neuer. Let me go for someone taller. Look for Donnarumma. Try him out. People swear by him. Some people don't. I don't like his lack of awareness. I used to use him. He used to be very inconsistent with one-on-one scenarios. So I wouldn't use him personally. I wouldn't recommend him. I have, however, came against, I think we've already scrolled past him, Alisson. He's quite a superstar, but it's the standard form for me. So as soon as he's out of form, you need someone to sub him. So I would recommend Neuer, ter Stegen. They're both very different. Try them both out, see which one you prefer, and then next time you get a goalkeeper, maybe an upgraded Neuer or upgraded ter Stegen, or every single team of the week, have a look, compare the stats between the two and go, oh actually, my ter Stegen, I prefer. There is an inform Jan Sommer, similar height, similar build, similar ratings. I'll give him a try because he's slightly better in awareness or reach or whatever. Moving on, I don't want to talk about him too much, but goalkeepers needed a bit of a detail because you have to spend a lot of money on them. Straight off the bat, okay. I come against Van Dijk. Would I recommend him? No. The only reason why, it's a lack of speed thing. Yes, he's tall. Yes, he's got all the stats, but it's a lack of speed. Proevo on the other side has the height. He's not the tallest, but he has the height. He has a bit more speed. There's a bit more possibility to gain in the extra stats on speed to keep him well built. Again, you try certain players. You try Proevo. You think he's unreal. You go, fuck, he's actually really good. But I think maybe I need to go for someone taller. Go for a Van Dijk, then try him. Because he is going to get good stats. He is going to get a reasonable amount of speed. He's just really going to lack in acceleration. Just don't focus on acceleration that much because it isn't going to make a difference. Not until you get it to 70 and above. Obviously I would recommend Koundé. Quick, defensive. Nothing else really needs to be said about him. He is a bit short, so make sure he's not your central centre-back. Make sure your central centre-back is someone like Van Dijk or Proevo, because worst case scenario, a cross does come in, you've got your tallest defender. It's a lot easier the taller they are. We've also got Marquinhos. Everyone recommends him. Everyone rates him. Is he great? Yes. Does he lack in ability? They all do. You are buying them for GP, so they are going to be insane, but only to an extent. They're not going to be flawless. They're not going to be perfect defenders, right? So you do what you can, okay? There is one more. Who I used to use? Where is he? I've already forgot. Koulibaly. Actually, there's two more then. Koulibaly's one. You can get him to have the 70 speed, high defensive stats. As you see, his height, he's big, all the player skills you need. Pepe, I used to swear by Pepe. I played 40, 50 games with him at the beginning of the game. I haven't tried him since the beginning of the game. So if you want to risk 76k on Pepe, do it. He's also got gamesmanship, which is good for defenders. Because when they're in a one-on-one tussle, if they kind of step slightly out of line, you'll more often than not get the free kick. Gamesmanship, I feel like, is quite an underrated player skill in every position. But I think that's it. I do also have... I have no idea where he's going to be. I don't want to show you in my team. Timber. As you can see, quick. defensive, but doesn't have any aerial defences. Right? He's got all the ones for the ground, all the ones to be a great defender, no aerial threat, aerial superiority even, and no heading. So try him out if you like the way he is, if you like how quick he is, if you don't mind the lack of pace, give him them. Obviously, of course, once you've built your whole team, then start looking at upgrading your players. I think that's it. That's all I pretty much use. Joe Gomez, maybe try Joe. No, standard form. Lack of skills. Okay. This is going to be a bit of a longer video, but this is just quite a few of them require a bit of an explanation. Alaba, again, try him out. He again isn't a tall defender, so you might have to look at giving him some height defensive stats. Saliba, I'd recommend Saliba. Good overall speed. Them two are quite similar in stats. Eder Militao, I wouldn't. I feel like he loses the ball in the air too often. Vardio, he's one that I'm currently using. I'm using his upgraded card. Honestly, go on eFootball database and compare the two stat-wise. Just base stat-wise, and just see if it's worth it. See if you can get the 90 stats up to 80 pace. If that's the case, then he's worth it. But he's my final one. Again, when it comes down to defenders, sadly you have to spend your money because you need your mixture of pace, of defending, physicality, or whatever other thing that you need. I do want to find you one more, just because I'd rather overdo it with centre backs. Because if you don't like any of the centre backs I've suggested, or you're looking at them going, they're fucking too expensive. I mean, if they're too expensive, buy these two. 150k. You can spend 300k and get a full 3-man defence, and then obviously pick yourself up Lisandro Martinez as well. Actually, again, he's a defender who's excellent on the ground, terrible in the air. Regardless what it says, you can see his height. He's actually smaller than Timber, so be aware that unless you up his jumping stats by a lot, he's probably going to be awful. I haven't used this year's version. I'm not sure how different it is to last year's version. Again, if you like him, compare him to last year's version. If he's got a lot more jumping, then maybe that's something to consider. I don't really want to drag this on too long, but I'll have a quick little. Luis Felipe used to be an absolute beast many a moon ago. I see him upgraded for. The issue we have is a lot of the players you are going to be spending a lot of your money on, but once you've got them, and you don't have to worry about upgrading them. You have to worry about spending money until you're done. Kurt Zuma, with his jumping and physicality, if he had a bit better form, I think we're going to call it there with centre backs. Kalulu, fantastic. We just saw him. He'd be a good sub. Like second half sub sort of player. Again, don't swear by him. Standard form can be very inconsistent, and a lack of player skills also. He might not be a good shout, but it's always worth just considering those players. I'm trying to see if there's any other names come to mind, because I've been slapped by a lot of standard players. I've recommended quite a few. We'll move on. Look at left backs. Left backs, right backs are going to be simple, so it's fine. All my defenders are under defensive. My fullbacks also include that. My wing backs, whatever you want to call them, they need to be good at defending. That's that simple. If you want them incredible at defending, fair enough. Look for someone who's incredible at defending. If you want someone who's a bit of everything, Robertson. Like, if you look at the beginning of his card, he's going to very easily get himself 90 acceleration to 85 sprint speed, get his defending up, get his passing up slightly. That's it. I mean, like, he's simple. He'll be very simple build. Mendy, standard form, very defensive fullback, consider him. He's going to be very quick, but I'd say it might be worth you getting, when it comes down to fullbacks, 3 of each. 1 for the bench, 1 for in the background for your live updates in case a live update doesn't go to plan and you end up going out of form. At least then you've got your main one and someone who's going to always sit on at C rating. But again, start with building your main starting 11, then build your bench, and then go from there. DiMarco, I've come against him quite a bit. Pacey, yeah, good skills. Interception, acrobatic clearance is not too bad. I do tend to look for a fullback with blocking and sliding tackle. That's what I tend to like from them, because they don't usually seem to be in the right position to be intercepting the balls unless I'm controlling them. And if that's the case, I intercept it myself. Sure, I have the upgrade version of him. I'd say get him. Interception blocker. He doesn't have the sliding tackle, but fighting spirit and through passing. Through passing is great. If you need to just ping the ball up on long ball counter, fantastic. If he does end up being on the wing as well, ping when crossing, he's kind of the jack of all trades, and he's only worth 76k. Ray Nildo, he'd be my second recommendation, just because people have came up against me with him, with an upgraded version of him. He's got all the player skills. He might just be a bit sluggish, but again, your defenders can't be this great when you're only buying GP, but you can get his pace up, as you see, very easily. He's got very high defensive stats to begin with as a fullback, and 33 levels. 100% get him. Your last one, have a look, buy a favourite. Do you know what I mean? Buy someone you want to try. I'd say always have, as your third player, someone you want to try. As soon as you're done with trying them, it's fantastic, you're done. You ain't got to worry about it then. Trent Alexander. I don't have a set piece taker in my team, so I'd probably get him solely for that purpose. Build your team. If you end up naturally having a set piece taker, great. A free kick taker, great, cool. You ain't got to worry about anything. If you don't, it might be worth you looking at fullback. You can do. Cancelo cannot defend for shit. Sadly, unless you're controlling him, cannot defend. Will not intercept the ball. Will not slide. So you really have to pick your players carefully when it comes down to this. If again you're looking for that defensive fullback line, Kyle Walker I would recommend him. I use his standard card. He's good. He's clean. He does his job. The weirdest thing is I think my version can't fully play centre back and right mid. I think them two are dark green, but this one seems to be light green. Maybe that's because this is this year's version. I don't know. Reece James as well. Would also recommend him. Interception, fighting spirit, good passing. But again, not for a fully defensive one. Pavard. I'd say get Pavard as well, guys. Again, very simple. And the last one, for right back, very simple. Very easy for this fullback position. Damian's alright, but I wouldn't get him. Simply because, as I said, we're looking for the fully out and out defensive players, and Wan-Bissaka's the man when it comes down to defending. He's going to end up with 90 sprint speed, acceleration probably like 85, and most of his stats in the 90s when it comes down to defending. All the defending capabilities you can get. Has a double touch, so if you are in a sticky situation you can do skills if you're confident enough to do so. Does have height, so can header the ball, but not excellently, so don't rely on him for that. That's it. 2, 3 of them, very simple. You now need defensive mids. Defensive mids are easy. You need an anchorman. Anchorman and anchorman only. I used to use Declan Rice. Right? I used to use Declan Rice, and all he used to do was being not caught out of position. Anchormen sit deeper, more natural, it's nice. A lot of people recommend Casemiro. I wouldn't, purely on the basis of his price. Maybe one of the last players you go for. Get a Chouameni. Tall, going to have okay pace, unwavering form, has some good player skills, not too far off, good passing and dribbling. Very simple, and again, tall, unit, bit of a beast. Calvin Phillips, I have an upgrade version of this card, I wouldn't recommend him. I'm only saying this because you might see him on the bench and go, oh, I'm going to get his standard card, he will be good. Kamara is good. Kamara's beautiful. Beautiful. I've already showed his build in a different video, so if you want to look at his build, just have a look. Skip through, find his build. Done. Simple enough. And drop a like if you end up doing that, because then I'll feel less like a slut just being used for no reason. Barrios, similar situation to some fullbacks. Isn't good with the ball in the air, but fantastic with the ball on the ground. Feels a bit like a Kante, but not as good because the lack of pace, the lack of balance, the lack of attacking ability. Very good on command, but again, be aware it's your defensive midfielder, so he does need height. Because if he doesn't have height, your other defensive midfielder is going to need height, and I'd prefer an anchor man with height than have my box-to-box with height. Just because if you're looking for a box-to-box with height, you're kind of fucked. I'm pretty sure I suggested quite a few of them there, so I'm just going to move on. Centre mids, Kante. I haven't even seen him yet, but Kante. Bellingham, as I said, nominating contract version of him. Get him 100%. You'll save yourself $250,000. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy, done. Move on from that. Pedri, very good at attacking. So he'd be your front centre mid. He'd replace Bellingham. As you see, he's going to end up with very good balance, very good acceleration. Well, not terrible acceleration. Very good dribbling and passing. Not the greatest finisher, but he's less of a finisher and more of a setter-upper, if that's even a word. Or obviously he's going to find himself in a good enough position where you could just basically pass it across to him, because that works in this game, guys. So don't debate it. It works. Verratti, also a good defensive midfielder, a good support defensive midfielder. Not someone to rely on, but can be good. So if you're umming and ahhing about him, don't worry. Kante's your man. Genuinely. Brola, again, would recommend him. I use him as a substitute. This exact version. Very well rounded, good pace and all of that kind of stuff. So, you know, and can attack if he needs to. I'm pretty sure he scored a nice goal for me as well. Camavinga I'm looking at because he has a little bit of height. Can also play left back, which is interesting. So that might be someone who you could consider for the middle of the park. Actually, yeah. I'd say give him, how much is he? 100k. If you want to try him, get everyone else first. Gavi. People rave about Gavi. And you can see why. Has no defensive capabilities. That's a shame. I would say bare minimum for your box-to-box. You need to have interception. You just need to. Because they will be in the middle of the field, running around like headless chickens the whole time. So just have him on interception, and then hopefully he'll end up picking up some balls from the middle of the park. Like, that's it. I think I mentioned quite a few of them there. I don't want to be going on because this is probably it's already a half an hour video. I've got a cup of tea that's gone cold. And Bella, I've used him as an upgraded version purely just down to stature. He seems to be quite a strong player in the midfield. If you're running low on cash, just buy him. He's a worst case scenario. So, and again, sooner or later, they put on midfielders like every week on Team of the Weeks and all of that. So you'll very likely get someone to replace these guys very, very quickly. We're going to move on from this for now. Attacking midfielders, right? It's simple. Luciano is the super sub. He'll be the one that goes on the bench. That's it. You get his acceleration up to 90, his speed up to hopefully 85 if you can. All his dribbling stats up to 90. Get his low pass over to 80, maybe 85 if you've got the levels for it. 80 plus finishing. He's going to end up being in good positions, finding a position, finding a space with his pace, being able to pass, being able to dribble, being able to finish. High weak for accuracy, which is fantastic. He's a super sub, which is fantastic. One touch pass, gamesmanship. So if you do end up dribbling with him, with the tight possession dribbling, which is just standard non-sprinting dribbling, you're going to end up getting free kicks in obvious places, in really easy places to score, whether you take the shot directly or pass it and shoot, or however you decide to do it, or penalties. So just 100%, don't hesitate, buy. But again, as a sub, so he'll be your second attacking midfielder you buy. And Nkunku, this is the argument with Nkunku. I've never tried him, but people rave about even his standard card. I think his small height would make him very, very agile, very aggressive on the ball. Good starting stats for dribbling, passing, finishing, acceleration and balance. So I'd probably suggest giving him a try. But again, he's 100k, so let's just try and scroll down a bit more and get someone a little bit cheaper. I do have an exception to this rule as well about an attacking midfielder. But obviously we currently have Bellingham, and my substitute for him, I don't remember who my substitute for him is, I'm going to be honest guys. I've already forgotten. We're going to carry on and then I'll show you him at the end. My sub is him. Oh god, yeah, Musiala's my sub. I pretty much always will replace Bellingham, or I'll take Kante off because he runs on like a headless chicken, he'll be tired. And then from there, Musiala comes on. Wingers, quickly. A lot of people, again, Heung-min Son's someone you have to try to decide whether you like him or not. Can play striker, can bang it. Okay, I'm not going to take away his shooting capability. As a shooter, fantastic shooter. Lacks pace and dribbling for me. Can't really dribble the ball. Doesn't also feel quick. I had him up to 90 sprint speed, 90 acceleration, over 80 in all of his dribbling stats, and just couldn't seem to find the pace on him. Regardless of whether I put him on the wing or allowed him to dribble around or accelerating, he was never feeling quick for me. Again, when it comes down to like Vinny Jr. and stuff, it's a conversation that you need to have yourself. If you want to try him out, buy him, adjust your formation slightly. My exceptions was Jack Grealish and Phil Foden. Neither of them are attacking midfielders, but both can play attacking midfield, and as you see, great dribbling to begin with, great starting balance, acceleration, great starting pace, great starting finishing, well, okay starting finishing, but has one touch pass, gamesmanship and those sorts of things. Again, got skills, fighting spirit, so he can run, he can dribble, he can skill. Phil Foden again, another exception to the rule. Both great, honestly. I'd probably just go for the cheaper one, get the cheaper one, and then buy the other one, so you can just have them both on the pitch, or have them both for the pitch at any point. You've always got number 1 and 2 and 3 then. You've got Musiala on your super sub bench, always, regardless of form, unless he hits like D form or E form, and then at that point, maybe look for another super sub, you can go Cam. Phil Foden, they both work wonders. Raphael, super sub, can play striker. Very simple. It's literally that simple. Tall, fast, dribbling, shooting, inconsistent form, so be careful on that. Doesn't really have many skills, but is a super sub nevertheless, so will play beautifully in game. I do have another super sub though, which we'll get into again. Rashford, again, would recommend Rashford, the final winger I'm going to go on. I would recommend him. He's got good shooting capabilities, first shot pass, gamesmanship, and good skills. Good height, good pace, good dribbling, good finishing, all that bullshit. Can also potentially become your set piece taker if you do end up using him as one of your main strikers. Moving on. I think we're going to move on. Yeah, I think we're going to move on. The rest of these players, the issue we have is there's some good players on the game, or there's some big names on the game. But then obviously the problem we have is they don't match the expectation. They don't fit the meta. And my formation is sort of meta based. So that's what we need to do. Raspadori, great super sub. That's really it. I'm just showing these ones just quickly because some second strikers, as you see, might be worth it. If you haven't got the free Neymar, it might be worth you just skipping out on both of them because they haven't got the pace to keep up with the game this day and age. They are great with set pieces and they will be your main set piece taker. But you buy players like this, sooner or later the pace is going to get the better of them, and because they've got lack of speed, they're not going to be able to get through the wing or make brilliant runs without being marked, or be able to outpace defenders, especially when you start coming against the Maldinis and stuff. You won't outpace anyone unless you've got top speed up front. Sadly, that's the way of the game, so this is what you have to consider. If you want to try them for now and just spend the big money at the beginning but then end up never using them again except for offline games, be my guest, try them out. but I wouldn't. Sadly, I wouldn't. They're not worth it. If you want a BTEC version of both of them, if you want a lower, cheaper version than both of them, either, and he's a super sub. Simple. Genuinely simple. Great dribbling, great skills, great shooting, can do set pieces, has the acceleration and balance, is going to have the dribbling, will have the finishing, not as great passing, but has the unwavering form, and plus, as I said, as soon as you sub him on, because he's a super sub, he's going to be doing bits, and his versatility as well, just like both of them. Both very versatile. He is also versatile. So if you need to adjust your formation to put wing play on, or to have fucking 4 strikers up front, bang 4 strikers up front, you need the players who are versatile enough on the bench who can do that. Moving on. I think we're done now, but yeah, we're going to finish it, and then I'm going to quickly run through my bench just in case I've forgotten anyone. Centre forwards, Mbappe. Sadly, you are going to save up for Mbappe because he's the best striker in the game for GP for free. You can build him to have 90 acceleration, 90 speed, pretty high dribbling, I think maybe 90 dribbling as well, 90 attacking awareness, and 90 finishing. All the stats that you need are in the 90s. First time shot, gamesmanship, penalty specialist, acrobatic clearance, somewhat double touch. You can level up his double touch using additional skills. He doesn't have one touch pass. I would recommend adding one touch pass on him kind of as soon as possible, because before I had one touch passing on him, even though he has 71 low passing, his passing was so inconsistent and shit. I was constantly losing the ball off him. I think one touch pass is a beautiful skill that needs to be on basically every midfield and attacker on the field. Haaland is an optional player, depending on the way you want to enjoy the game. Depends if you buy a player like him. Is a super sub, can obviously start, but would recommend using super subs as super subs because they are. If you want to use players like that and get the ball into the box and cross it, be my guest, but I wouldn't recommend it sadly because it's not a part of the game. Osimhen is the other striker I would recommend, can have incredible pace, dribbles like he's got potatoes in his pockets. I don't know what it is, something's weighing him down, he's constantly slow, but he's clinical, he's quick, he's tall, he's got heading capabilities, so if you kick the ball up or if you get a throw in close to the goal, close to the goalkeeper, close to their side of the keeper, you can switch him to someone who's got a long ball, chuck it over to Osimhen, and he'll either get the head on to have an attempt at goal, or if Mbappe is open, header it over to Mbappe, and it's basically a free goal because they never mark up those players. Martinez. Sadly, a lot of people rate Martinez. I used to. But again, his pace lacks too much for the end game when you're coming against all them great players to actually make a difference. He either needs exceptional dribbling or exceptional speed. He's got neither. So sadly he falls behind and now he just sits on the bench, which I feel bad for because he's done a lot for me. But what can you do? You know what I mean? What can you do? These players, they come and go. Right, Ollie Watkins is a good target man. No, he's not. I'm thinking of another player clearly. Is it Gakpo I was thinking of? Potentially for 34 levels? No, first time shot, no aerial, okay. Giroud, again, as I said earlier, some of these players are just players that you can just use, and Alvarez, I would, again, try him for 100k, a bit more down the line. I went past someone, Jesus, look at Jesus as well. If you want a bit more of a BTEC, you know, I mean, a bit more of a lower grade version of Osimhen because you can't be bothered to pay the price yet. You just want to see how fast. He's not really quick though, is he? He's 70k though. If you want to try him, try him. Inoki Williams has got the pace. Lacks amazing dribbling, lacks amazing balance, but he's going to get good shooting. Has got okay skills, has got gamesmanship as a striker, which is great because again, more likely to get the penalties with him. Already with Osimhen, I've only played him like 5 or 10 games and I've had 3 or 4 penalties from him. Because of his lack of dribbling, they come in weirdly aggressive if the other team doesn't know how to defend too well. I think we're done. I think that's everyone I would recommend. Is there any exceptions to the rule? Again, height, maybe. Maybe try him. Again, 60k. Can you say no to 60k? I don't really think you can. I was going to say he again. Tal is someone that I didn't recommend. He is a super sub on my bench. He is the player that I changed Osherman for at the second half. Pace, height, strength, ridiculous pace. Plays like he's like an unreal dribbler. But if you want to save money, or have numerous options up front, have him, because I'm actually pretty sure he should be cheaper. I used to use the 4, is either a 4 or 3-star Tau, or he's just not even a striker. He might not be a striker. Or have I forgotten what he is? I've forgotten everything about him. Sadly, we're going to go back and we're going to have to find him. That's what. Come on, Owen. You absolute sausage. That's my fault for being a brain dead idiot there. But my only, it's going to be an other, isn't it? Other's at the top. No? What the fuck have I missed? Eh? It's Europe? Why is this so fucked? None? No, I need. Oh, fuck off. It's club teams. I'm sorry, guys. Again, if I'm honest, you can just look through teams and just find players that you like the look of. Oh, there we go. 24k. I used to use that card, and I might have already traded him in like legacy transferred him. I'll go have a look, see if I did. Just because I'd like to show you his progression, like his potential. To show you even that standard card isn't all bad. Fuck, got rid of him. Sadly. But yeah, he wasn't all bad, so don't worry about it. That's it. That's it. You know, you pretty much have this, more or less this exact team. If Albert Ferreira's still on with the eFootball points, get him. Always going to be B rating for live update, so has more likely will either be a bencher or will be the person who starts. But that's it. I believe I've mentioned everyone. I'm just trying out Bebeto at the moment, so kind of ignore him for now. Does play well on the ball, can pass, plays like a second striker should, to be honest with you. If you have this version of Neymar, I'd say he might work. I'd say he does work. I would say he does work. But again, you will lack the passing capability with him. There's no through passing or anything, or weighted pass, and those are things that I feel like you need. Outside curler as well. Very important things for someone who's either going to be supporting the main striker or to be trying to find space. Because if they can't find space with passing, you might struggle. But if you are using him as your main striker beside Osherman's passing's awful, but still can hit a big fruit ball when he needs to, just because that's how the game works. I think that's everyone. Kante, in case I didn't show you, get Kante. This is the team that I use. This is the bench that I have. Usually subbing these two on after the start of the second half, so around the 50th minute mark. Calvin Phillips and Barella replace these positions. Bellingham drops back here. Musiala goes on for Kante. And then once these two get tired, again, replace it. The anchorman with an anchorman. The box to box with a box to box. I have Timber on. I still like him because, as you see, 85 acceleration, 80 sprint speed. With those stats, pretty good. If he's in better form, he has better jumping, better stamina, better balance and all of that. So he plays well. He plays well. But that is me done. I don't really want to drag this on for longer than it needs to be because it's probably already a long video, 45 minutes. Alright, so before it hits the 45 minute mark, I'm going to go because after 45 minutes it's going to look less attractive. If you did like the video, like it, and if you didn't, then dislike it and tell me why in the comments. If you enjoyed, subscribe. Yeah? I will post more videos like this. If you want me to post a actual Road to Glory, I have a second account that I will post that basically brand new. but let me know in the comments and we'll try and get to Division 1. See you later. Bye-bye.